When a man with a troubled upbringing turned to a life of crime in his teens, he went on to see a series of arrests spanning 10 years that would leave him as a hardened criminal. What he never expected, though, would be that a flattering mugshot posted to Facebook would lead to a life of fame and luxury. It's not that unusual for people from all different walks of life to simp over criminals online. After all, phrases like "I can fix him" have become a meme for a reason. What's much more rare, though, is that this simping actually amounts to something pretty productive, even life-changing for the people involved. Let's start at the beginning. Jeremy Meeks was born in Tacoma, Washington on February 7, 1984. He has since said that his childhood was very dark. That darkness began with his very own birth. Jeremy was a heroin baby, born while both of his parents were very avid users of the drug. The issues with his upbringing wouldn't even come close to ending there, though. When he was only 9 months old, his father stabbed a woman who had been taking care of him. Jeremy later said that this was because he and his sibling had been hidden from their parents and that his father had no choice, with that woman being the only person who could tell him where they were. Still, though, the details of the attack were brutal. Jeremy's father, Raymond, had kept the woman alive and tortured her for 5 hours, beating her with blunt weapons and stabbing her over 35 times before ultimately ending it. While being questioned, Raymond was accused of the sexual assault and kidnapping of another woman as well. Eventually, he was charged with murder and given a 45-year sentence. However, Jeremy was still subject to awful treatment from his mom as well. He spent a good time at home hiding from his mother. He later said, "Growing up in a heroin household is really hard. You have to grow up really fast and fend for yourself, and bring something to the table so that everyone can eat." As he got a bit older, he was forced into the role of caretaker for his mother. After the parents split up, Jeremy's mom started dating a revolving door of shady, abusive men. Not only that, but her drug problem had only grown in severity. With how often she was being arrested, Jeremy was mostly cared for by his older sister for years. While overcoming a lifetime of bad habits would be hard enough, he was also struggling with a learning disability. Jeremy later admitted that, by this point in his life, making bad decisions had become the norm. It was something he both expected and accepted. This led to him joining some local gangs in his neighborhood upon moving out to Los Angeles. He said, "Next thing you know, I'm fighting and fighting and fighting, and I had to learn really fast about colors and gangs and neighborhoods and sets. At a really young age, I got put onto the hood, and from there, I moved out of the house at 15 and was in the streets. After only being out of the house for about 1 year, he had met with most of the usual results of gang activity. He was beaten up numerous times, both with fists and with baseball bats. He was shot 5 times in total and was admitted into juvenile detention. He said that his light skin made his time locked up fairly difficult, writing, "For most light-skinned people, you're not black enough and you're not white." Jeremy only felt that his family life had taken a slight turn for the better when his older sister joined the military as soon as she turned 18. While he was happy that she was able to escape, he was more happy with what came after. Once she returned after 2 years, she legally adopted Jeremy and his older brother. Still though, while this could have been a way out, Jeremy was already set in his ways when it came to the way he lived his life. While it may seem by this point in the story that Jeremy was merely a victim, both of gang life and his own circumstances, that was anything but the case. In 2002, when Jeremy was 18 years old, he was hit with a couple of very heavy charges, those being robbery and corporal injury to a child. Jeremy was now a legal adult, but he jumped and brutally beat a 16-year-old as well as robbed him. Needless to say, this was not a good look. Due to what he had done, Jeremy was sentenced to 2 years in a California prison, with his first mugshot in adulthood being available for all to see. While in prison, he made it no secret that he was affiliated with the Northside Gangster Crip Gang. After he served his time, Jeremy was released from prison. His criminal activity wouldn't end there though, not by a long shot. In around 2005, Jeremy was caught picking up a package of pellets at a sporting goods section of a local Dollar General and leaving without paying for them. When he was confronted by security guards, he began to grow irate and told them that he would fuck them all up and threatened to kick their asses. Due to this, he was pepper sprayed and arrested. In a move of sheer cowardice and betrayal, Jeremy actually tried to convince the police that he was his own brother, Emery. Emery already had an outstanding warrant in the area. It isn't known what Jeremy's plan was as he was already in custody. There wouldn't have been a point where he would have been able to leave and swap places with Emery. Nevertheless, his true identity came to light while he was in jail. He was charged for forgery and identity theft. He was also charged on an outstanding warrant he had as well. In total, he was sentenced to 71 days in prison in order to pay $800 in fines. In 2007, Jeremy was once again arrested, this time for negligent driving and driving without a license. Lucky for him, the second charge was dropped, and in the end, all he had to pay was a fine of roughly $250. In his personal life, Jeremy was lucky enough to meet a lady not too long after this arrest. This woman's name was Melissa, and she would come to be his wife in 2008. The two even ended up having a child together. While you might hope that this would calm him down and give him a reason to cut back on the criminal life, that wouldn't be the case. In 2009, Jeremy was arrested once again on charges that have only been described as relating to gang activity. For this arrest, he once again posed for a new mugshot. In this mugshot, his evolution into a career gang member was becoming much more clear. This time, he was sporting a number of neck tattoos, one of which was a large NC in the front, standing for a Northside Crip. He also had a teardrop tattoo under his eye. While this can carry a number of different meanings, or even no meaning at all, it's a tattoo that is typically believed to signify that someone has killed before. Jeremy would once again be free, but not until 2024. This was when the Stockton Police Department launched a large-scale investigation into illegal gun ownership, one that they called Operation Ceasefire. Jeremy was one of the felons being investigated for owning guns. The police scored a search warrant for his house and made their way out there. In doing so, they actually caught Jeremy just as he was leaving the home. After conducting a search of his person and of his car, they found a 9mm bullet and some marijuana in the glove compartment. This made their hunch that Jeremy still owed guns all but proven. They opened the trunk of the car and found a loaded, unregistered .45 caliber handgun along with 2 extended magazines. Jeremy was swiftly arrested. He was taken into jail until his arraignment. There he appeared in court wearing the traditional orange jumpsuit, locked in handcuffs. He pleaded not guilty. All he said was that he wanted a court-appointed lawyer. His bail was then set at $1 million. A public information officer said that Jeremy was, quote, one of the most violent criminals in the Stockton area. He said, "It's been a long-term investigation over many weeks, and Mr. Meeks' gang was identified as the most violent and active gang in the area. 2 of his charges are gang-related." Jeremy was listed as being a convicted felon that had been arrested on felony weapon charges. Shortly after this was all said and done, his mugshot, along with the mugshots of the others who had been arrested in the same operation, were posted to the police department's Facebook page. It wasn't too long before a bunch of thirsty women, and some men, on the internet took note of Jeremy's picture, realizing that he was quite the criminal dreamboat. In only 24 hours after Jeremy's mugshot was first posted, it amassed over 25,000 likes and 3,700 comments, the engagement going far, far beyond anything the police department had ever seen on their page before. The vast majority of the comments were simply women commenting on how attractive he was. The popularity of the post only grew over time, eventually getting over 95,000 likes, 20,000 comments, and thousands of shares. A lot of the comments from women were simple jokes about his attractive appearance, with one saying, "What is he guilty of? First-degree sexiness?" And another writing, "He'll probably be on the next year's prison calendar, Mr. Every Month." Some others commented that, instead of becoming a criminal, he should have just pursued a career in modeling. The comments didn't stay calm, though, not by a long shot. These women started making statements that ranged everywhere from horny to completely vile. One woman posted, "You guys are gonna want to kill me after thirst session because I can't stop. I'm possessed with a lust demon right now." Another said, "He can add another teardrop to his face after he murders dis pussy." One more woman said, "It's better he stays incarcerated. He's gonna get raped when he gets out." Some of the women took it even further, digging up pictures of Jeremy with his wife and insulting her appearance, commenting that he could do much better. A lot of these women even made memes of Jeremy's mugshot, either using Photoshop or online meme generators that were popular at the time. Some of these memes were relatively innocent, portraying Jeremy as a male model. Some of them were clearly jokes, such as one that said, "Steals your heart and your DVD player." And many others, though, these women once again went for the depravity, such as this one that reads, "Rapes me, not even mad." Throughout all of this, though, Jeremy was still in jail, awaiting his next hearing. With his bail set at $1 million, he definitely wasn't going anywhere. His mother, insisting that he was innocent, decided to start a GoFundMe page in order to get him some better legal help. Jeremy's mom wasn't exactly a beacon of trust, though. She had a long history of charges against herself as well, such as drug charges, aiding and abetting a criminal, trading property for welfare checks, and even battery. Despite her best efforts, the GoFundMe page barely got any traction, only making about $500 of its goal. More than anything, the fundraiser was hit with the same sort of women who left comments on Jeremy's picture previously. One of the small donations included the message, "Hit me up when you get out, Daddy, I got a list of naughty things I want to do to you." On July 3, 2014, the grand jury indicted Jeremy on a charge of possession when it came to the handgun, which they said had also been carried across state borders. However, the state soon dropped the charges against him and handed it over to the feds instead. This gave Jeremy even more time to sit in jail. In February of 2015, he was finally convicted on one count of being a felon in possession of a firearm and sentenced to 27 months in a federal prison. He was also ordered to complete a 500-hour-long substance abuse treatment program. While he was in jail, Jeremy's niece spoke out, saying that he had become a very different man. She said that he was a loving father, husband, brother, and uncle. She wrote, "He has a past and because of it he is being stereotyped. We wish all the judgment would stop. He just wants to get home to his family. He gave his heart to God. That's why he changed." She said that she wasn't sure if the gun in the trunk of the car was his, but said that, if it wasn't being used for, in her words, terrorism or anything remotely close. Jeremy's sister said that the gun was his, but that he only used it for protection. Jeremy himself was interviewed while behind bars, saying that he wanted to leave his days of gang activity in the past. He vowed to never go back to it if he were released. When he was asked about the meaning of his teardrop tattoo, he refused to comment on it. All he would say is that he had done things in the past that he wasn't proud of. He said that he didn't hear about the attention he was getting from women online until he heard about it from his wife. Speaking of the way thirsty women online spoke of him, he said, "I appreciate it, but I just want them to know that this is really not me. I'm not some kingpin." Talent agencies took notes of Jeremy's newfound fame while he was in prison. They were salivating at the chance to get in on the ground floor as soon as he was released from prison. While he was still in, a company called White Cross Management, owned by a photographer and talent agent named Jim Jordan, started working with him, laying out the groundwork that would be his new career after being released. In the end, Jeremy served 13 months of his sentence, coming to be released early on March 8, 2016. After that, he was ordered to live in transitional housing for a few weeks before returning to normal life. As soon as he got out, White Cross started working with him in any way that they could, drafting up a contract fairly quickly. His first headshot was published only a couple of months later in June. He was soon featured on the cover of a number of online magazines connected to the company. By the next year, he was making his debut as a model, appearing on the runway for multiple different fashion shows. He was even invited to appear for a photo shoot in the UK, but the country barred him from entry at the airport after hearing of his felonious past. He was interrogated for a while before being shipped back to the United States. However, only a few months later he would find himself appearing at other fashion shows throughout Europe and eventually was able to get back into the UK as well. After about a year of living this life, it was soon reported that he was in a relationship with a woman named Chloe Green, who was the daughter of a prominent British businessman named Philip Green. The two were spotted hanging out on a yacht together on a trip to Turkey. Due to this cheating, his wife back home divorced him. This new relationship was made abundantly clear when Chloe gave birth to their child in 2018. Jeremy now had a son. It wasn't too long before this relationship ended too, though, with the both of them splitting up only a year later and selling their London home. After, Jeremy was once again spotted with his original wife back home. Around this time, Jeremy started appearing in music videos as well, showing up in the video for a song called Wi-Fi by a Russian pop singer named Olga Buzova. He also got himself a $15 million partnership with a company in Frankfurt called Fashion Concept. His fashion line launched in 2020, but the company ended up filing for bankruptcy once it was found that they were engaging in fraud. Not content with music, fashion, and modeling, Jeremy felt that it was time to take a large step forward, that being acting. He made his first appearance in a film in 2020. This was for a BET Plus streaming movie called Trigger. In 2021, he made his first appearance in a movie that would go on to produce a trilogy, this film being Secret Society. Jeremy would go on to act in many more films over the next several years. In 2022 alone, he was featured in movies called The Wrong High School Sweetheart, Circumstances 3, Unfair Exchange, and the sequel to Secret Society called Secret Society 2 Never Enough. The year after that, he acted in movies titled Dance for Me and, of course, Secret Society 3 Till Death. In 2024, he was in one more film, this one being called Dutch 2 Angel's Revenge. As of 2025, Jeremy still has several projects on the table. Not only will he be a part of several films that are now in development, some of which are Beach Chain, Dogman, and Rise of the Terrigan, but he also finished writing and released an autobiography called Model Citizen, which tells his life story. In the end, Jeremy's story is truly a strange one. He's a guy who went from being born with heroin in his system to a couple of criminal parents, to being a hardened criminal himself, to being a man of God / male model / actor. If not for the explosion of horny women on Facebook who developed a fascination with him, it's unclear where he might have ended up today. Without that fame and the modeling contract it brought, Jeremy's status as a felon very likely would have left him with very little options moving forward. Maybe he would have returned to a life of crime. Luckily for him, though, that wasn't the case. Once again, thank you for watching my video. If you found it interesting, please give it a like, it really helps me out in the algorithm, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see some more content like this. If you want to check it out, I've got a merch store open. There you can get yourself some cool Dire Trip t-shirts, coffee mugs, and some other stuff too. If you want, go ahead and follow me on social media. If you need to get a hold of me, that's definitely the easiest way to do it. I also really appreciate when people subscribe to my Patreon. There you can get videos early, ad-free, and uncensored. Channel memberships are up too, and you can get the same benefits there as well. Once again, this has been your host Kyle. Thank you, and good night.